Okay.
For you.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Keep Pharr Beautiful Committee for the City of Pharr to order. May we have roll call, please? Here?
Present.
Here. Here.
Thank you. We'll go down to item 1B, invocation. Oh, before we go on, since we do have everyone in attendance, we're just going to go on. We're going to go on to item 1B, invocation. Let us begin by taking a moment to breathe in peace and exhale all the difficulty in our day. Silence our minds and open our hearts to all our Lord's goodness. As always, we begin by giving the appropriate praise and thanksgiving for all the many blessings that have been bestowed upon us. We also are grateful for the challenges, for in that doubt we seek hope. We deepen our faith, and we are reminded by the graces we find in these midst that we are never alone. You are always present. We ask that you guide us during this meeting and take us safely home to our families. Amen. We move on to item 2, administrative, which would be item A, approval of minutes for September 26, 2019. If you'd like to take a minute to just glance over and review them. And when we're ready, we'll accept a motion on the floor to accept the minutes. If you would glance over to page 3, I believe, under comments, page 3, section G, comments and announcements. The item that reads, Mr. Rick Gamboa discussed the process for weedy lots, comma, also promoting the assistance for the assistance. It should be not assistance as a person. It should be the verb assistance there. It goes on for elderly to go mow their lawns, remove and put at, no cost to them. So the T should be removed off the not, comma, right now, period. And then we proceed with capital W on we.
It should be cost to them, period.
Cost to them,
Period.
right, period. Okay.
And then
Right now, right, exactly. Cost to them, period, capital R in right.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we only have 3 elderly signed up for the program, period. Does that sound corrected? Okay. Did anybody else see anything else? And if not, I need a motion on the floor to accept the minutes with the corrections.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we've got Ms. Ramirez making the motion to accept the minutes for September 26th with the corrections. Do I have a second on the floor?
I second that.
Okay, we have Mr. Carranza seconds the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, being that there's no opposition, the minutes are approved with the corrections stated. Thank you. Okay, we go on to administrative item 2B, which are target goals for KTB, which is Keep Texas Beautiful. I would like to call Mr. Ray Cano, Assistant Director of Public Works, just to possibly answer any questions we may have. Target goals that were set from our visit to KTB this summer were to enhance the Adopt a Highway program, I believe. And in turn, just a synopsis, my understanding is we have been in contact with Mr. Ray Garza with TxDOT, and he has told us that, or we have been in contact with TxDOT, and we understand there are not a lot of highways available in Pharr to be adopted. Those that are adoptable, we've got a current we've got Topgolf that has already submitted an application. Do you know of anything else or any more updates on that?
Good evening, committee members. For the record, my name is Reynaldo Cano. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works. Excuse me, we did turn in the application over to Topgolf. We did send them an email just so we could follow up on it to see where we're at. We haven't received any response. Tomorrow I will do another follow-up. I will give them a phone call to see where we're at. If they're not interested in the Adopt a Highway program, we can try and find somebody else.
Okay. Please correct me because I know I'm wrong. It wasn't Ray Garza who deals with Adopt a Highway at TxDOT.
It's Bobby de la Garza.
Bobby?
I'm sorry, Bobby de la Fuente.
I'm sorry?
Bobby de la Fuente.
De la Fuente. I'm sorry. So many names to remember. But thank you. And yes, also we're in the process of trying to figure out if those highways that have been adopted by merchants and or organizations within the city, which we know they're few, if they've kept up their end of their agreement with TxDOT. And could you review that one more time for our committee? It's 4 cleanups a year, is it?
It's 4 cleanups a year, a 2-mile stretch, and they do get all the supplies that they need from TxDOT.
It's a 2-mile stretch, right? Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for him?
If I recall, you mentioned that the number of highways available is limited.
The number of highways available, period, whether they've been adopted or not, is limited.
Yes, we have more city streets than we do
Okay.
TxDOT roads, so it's kind of difficult to try and determine which ones are, well, we know which ones are TxDOT. Some of them have already been adopted by others. We just, I guess, follow up on that and see if we can find out who they are and maybe kind of coordinate with them to see maybe when they go out there, we can go out there, go take some photos so that way we can document it.
The city of Pharr is in a very unique situation given its location. So we butt up to, our neighbors. I mean, we're like, it's just a very unique situation. So in order to adopt a highway, it must be a Texas Department of Public Safety highway. I mean, it has to be a TxDOT highway.
Yes.
And most of ours are city.
But, that's not to say that we couldn't come up with our own,
Mhm.
adopt a street, adopt a boulevard,
That's true. We could possibly do something like that.
perhaps, schools that are located on a particular street, they may wanna adopt half a mile in either direction of their school.
Quadrant.
Let me look into that to see if we can. Again, we've never tried that, or I haven't heard about that as far as trying to adopt a city street. But let me do a little research on that.
So, just a little history what I've seen I'm usually not the one that goes out on the trolley, but when we do Operation Clean Sweeps, the trolleys are available, and Operation Clean Sweeps are done in quadrants throughout the city. So this particular month coming up, it's going to be a Jones Box. So therefore, it's not just Jones Box that gets, the effort. What happens is, and of course, Ms. Crystal Medina could also elaborate on that. But we have different groups from the community that come out, and they actually do perimeter cleanup. The trolley takes them to a certain point, and they clean up certain streets, boulevards.
Yes, we try and find or try and locate these streets that have debris on there. Again, we need to make sure that it's in a safe location. If it's got a sidewalk, it doesn't have a sidewalk, it depends on how we're gonna do our traffic control.
And these folks, these volunteers are given a vest, they're given gloves, they're given bags, and they're given something to pick up the debris
Snacks.
with, and they're given snacks and stuff. But they are also escorted by Public Works people, so make sure that safety is the utmost. So in a way, we're sort of doing it, but not with schools. We're doing it with school groups, volunteers, private people, you know. So, but I that's a great idea. Will you look into the
Yes.
adopt? Okay.
Yes,
very good.
I'll have something for you for our next meeting.
Very, and if you don't mind just staying there for a moment, this leads us into administrative item 2B2, the idea of involving our youth to help clean Pharr, to not only clean Pharr, but to disperse and educate our public. So again, this effort is you see the overlapping that can occur here. Perhaps in getting school children involved in this core of youth, they could not only be cleaning, but also helping to prevent that litter from being put on the ground. They can also help in the recycling effort as well. So it's amazing how everything just overlaps, and it's like a web,
Yeah.
which is neat. We're still looking for, I'm hoping to get some names also from our volunteers at the next OCS to see if they have any suggestions on names. And I'm still waiting to hear back from some of the schools on a good name for our group. And it is our hope that these youth, whether they're school age, elementary, middle school, high school, that they will be involved at our events. For example, I see that you're having, Parks and Rec has a sign at the door. They're having something for Halloween. We could have them set up with a little recycling, you know, even if it's simply starting with just water. What do you do with the empty bottles? Let's not throw the cap on the ground. That ends up in our gutters, which will end up out in our water system. So, simple education, but that's where we are with that. Anything to add on these items?
We're working with Parks and Rec to see if they can help us out in this one, the youth clean Pharr. So that way, since they have a little more contact with the youth, they can help us out in trying to get this organized.
They have a whole slew of after-school programs. They're using school gymnasiums for these,
Yes.
so this is a good place to start as well. All right, thank you, Mr. Cano. And again, I put this under administrative item 2A-B3, Keep Pharr Beautiful. Again, we can check that off. We are officially Keep Pharr Beautiful. That is something that, as a city, not only just Public Works, as a city, we need to remember in anything we do that logo needs to be used. And so that effort continues. We need to get with, technology, and they can use that logo.
And
Yes,
do
sir.
we already have a logo that says Keep Pharr?
Well, they're gonna use this one,
One,
and then we're gonna expand and work on one together. Before we go on to item 2C, I would like to ask if Ms. Crystal would come forward, just because it's a question regarding Keep Pharr Beautiful. Thank you, Ms. Crystal Medina.
You're welcome. Hello, Crystal Medina for the record.
So Ms. Crystal attended the Keep Texas Beautiful conference along with Mr. Cano. And I know in the past she was our person who took care of the associate. We're considered an associate, right? Or what is it?
Affiliate.
An affiliate.
Yes.
And so I know that Ms. Cindy Puente also went, your supervisor. And so being that she's not here today, I was hoping to ask her a question regarding our application for the awards
Okay.
that we're hoping to vie for will become available in January.
Yes.
And so I guess today's question for her would have been, what is the goal on how we begin to get our materials organized so we could be ready to submit? Because I believe it's a 2-week or a month window.
I believe I want to say it's a month.
It's a month.
But it's a long application.
Yes.
Yes.
It has a lot of questions
Yes.
in different, and there's categories. And
Right.
it would be a challenge for one person to take care of it, and one person doesn't have all the answers either, right?
Right. No. Yeah, it's several different departments that actually have to come together to
So,
answer that.
I guess my question would be is what, and perhaps you could just share this with her, and then what is her plan on tackling that? Obviously, it's not something she's just going to sit and be able to do in one day or give it to someone else to do. It's something that we need to prepare for.
Right.
And it's a lot of money in awards that we at least want to submit in good conscience, a good application, so we can know what it feels like to go through the rigor of it.
Yes.
And if we get lucky, there's a lot of things we're doing. So the committee, I know she was in here today, she was in here last month, so do we want to maybe her to get back with us through email, so we kind of have an idea?
I like the idea that if you could convey that message to her, to see what she would suggest or we have to do. But I think it would behoove us to get an answer, not wait till next month.
Okay.
Because next
We
month will
could-
be November.
Yeah, so if you could email it to someone,
She
Chairperson.
could, Maricruz has all our emails, and it would be good, just so we have that.
so we can have
We
that
know,
work.
okay, so that's something that we can look forward to hearing from and stuff.
Okay, so maybe within a week?
A week or just
Two?
at least her ideas on how she's gonna get, does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay. I will let her know.
Okay.
How soon can that be started and what's the deadline?
So it should be early January that the application is available to us. And then from there, you can answer questions, save it, and then continue it as so. But you can also print stuff out, give it to other directors, give it to other departments, so they can do their input, fill it in. You get it back, and then you go back online and you fill it out. But it's not a long time that the application is available. So that's why the earlier we start, the better.
So my thinking was for her, what is your plan to get? We've participated in a lot of areas. Remember, there's several quadrants, there's several categories. We've done a lot. The city of Pharr has done so much in the last 9 months. My thinking is, if we can, how have we organized the events? And do we have documentation, how many people we touched, things that they're gonna ask. I mean, we don't have a sure application that we can follow that this is gonna be the identical thing, but we could kind of surmise that things like that are gonna be asked. Like, do you have documentation, do you have photos, do you have numbers, do you have, how is the event special? And it's wording. It all has to do with using the right, you're trying to, you're applying for a grant, basically, so we just need to know that there's a plan, right?
And the deadline is when?
As soon as it opens, I believe it's either 2 weeks or a month. I want to say it's about a month, 3 weeks.
It opens up like mid-December, and then it closes, or it's right around that time when everybody's recovering from the holidays, And I don't want it to go under the radar.
Yeah, and I know that they did say that the application this year was going to be a little bit different from last year's application. So the questions are probably very similar, but they're not going to be the same.
But it has to be submitted, so when
Yeah.
would that be?
It has to be submitted, and it's online, right? Everything's
Yes,
done online.
Everything's online.
So, yeah, everything's, like I said, it's either a 2-week or a month window. I don't have my paperwork with me regarding the conference, but, anyway, we want a plan.
Okay, yeah.
We're looking for a plan. We're looking forward to a plan. And of course, if she or you need any help from us, to kind of relive or go back, and we're more than available to help you, okay?
I will let her know as soon as
Please.
I get back tomorrow.
Please.
Yes,
Do we
Thank
know
you.
if the city has a grant writing department?
we do.
Okay.
I don't know how that would incorporate with us, but I mean, we can always reach out.
I think they'd be key, if we get them the information, they would be key in being able to formulate those responses.
Right.
You know,
That's true. They
Something to
might
think
have the,
about.
they would have the training on,
Yeah.
on what, the wording.
Sure.
The key wording.
because it is true in grants, it's about how it's written.
It's the verbiage, right?
Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We good? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we move on to item 2C, the downtown mural. I had invited Mr. Alanis down to, over from City of Pharr Parks and Rec to discuss what, I know he's been in contact with artists, and he had submitted to them, since he's privy to all that information, he has sized the area, etc. And artists had communicated back and forth with him. I hate to say, I don't know where we're at. He has some input, and but as of today, I heard that maybe there was another plan that's going to be used. So I'm not sure if we should just move on to the next item, table that until we have a definite what's going to happen to that.
When will we know? Next meeting?
If, what I could do is, as soon as I know anything, email the group as to what, if we're still on the right track
Okay.
with the mural, or if there has been a decision to do something else.
Okay.
Would that be a good option? Is that okay?
Yes.
Would that be okay? Is that okay? All right, so then we're gonna go ahead and table this, and we'll move on to administrative, 2D, status report. Again, this is just a review. I'm gonna call this is a status report on the recommendations that we gave to the city, to Public Works, to help us out with our South Pharr area, based on our trolley ride back in the spring. So I'd like to just call Mr. Cano up again. If you've heard anything on administrative, it's 2, administrative, D1. It is do you know where we are with our 281 truck route signage? Have you heard anything?
The signage are there. We do have the signs that came in. We are, in addition to other signs for the illegal dumping, which was requested by yourself. We just need to designate, I guess, which areas are problem areas for the illegal dumping. On the signs, the one that you had asked for about at our previous meeting was that yellow sign with the truck on it.
Right.
That one is a text dot sign, and it's facing traffic to divert them out of the city
South.
or out of town. That's the reason why that one was there. On the other signs that we have, we do need to start placing them or looking for those troubled areas where we're getting at, especially at the main intersections that they use. We can't put them at all the streets because they're side streets, but we can put them like at the main thoroughfares where we get the most traffic for the 18-wheelers.
Do you have any recommendations for the location of the
I
signage?
think, just, especially if it's on Cage far enough in advance so that they know when they get to Ridge, that's your stopping point. You
Yes,
gotta
and
go left.
I think PD has also been assisting us or also enforcing that the rules that we have as far as having 18-wheelers going through town. So now we're having 18-wheelers go through Veterans, and the other ones are going through Jackson.
South Jackson.
And, I see, and I'm on Veterans a lot during the day, and I think those trucks move pretty smoothly through there. They don't cause a big problem.
Actually, they're not even supposed to be using veterans.
They're
either,
not. Well,
because we
they
have
found it
signs
then.
out there also, but again.
Because of
since
the
pe-
schools?
Yes, because of the schools. They don't want any kind of hazardous material going through that area. So we do have signs out there, but they're not as many as we have on Cage.
It's kind of narrow too,
No, we do get a lot of traffic on veterans. We have some lanes that are just 2 lanes, and we're getting a lot of damage. So that's in the works also, to get that road restored.
Does San Juan help you maintain that road?
San Juan?
Because veterans.
No, I think it
San Juan
belongs,
or
the
San
entire
Juan?
street belongs to Pharr.
So
Yeah.
Yes.
the other side,
No.
where this, I thought would like.
Yeah, the way I understand it, the entire street belongs to Pharr.
Oh my goodness. So, do you have, does Public Works, or do you know if the city has any plans to maybe enforce the traffic, the truck traffic through there?
Right now, I think they're concentrating on Cage.
Okay, well, I can see
Because we're
that.
gonna be having that arch right here,
Yes.
so they for sure don't want trucks going through and hitting them.
Okay,
So they're mainly concentrating on
okay.
281.
The preferred route is South Jackson.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, coming and going.
Or-
Coming and going, right?
Or Stewart, right?
Or Stewart. Yeah, they're actually supposed to be taking Stewart, but they're,
And I know they've done a lot of
Veterans.
improvements to Stewart, so.
Yes. Stewart or Jackson, okay. All right, does anybody have any more questions for Mr. Cano regarding the signage? Okay, you mentioned illegal dumping, so you have some signs available for that.
yes.
Okay, does anybody have any recommendations on the illegal dumping sites that we may have spotted? Or any illegal dumping sites that you might want to share with Mr. Cano, or remind him about maybe that's where a signage should go?
Well, I think somebody had reported it to me, and it's that, and I
That
know Alan
drain-
Williams will
was
get
it
mad if
that
I call it a
drainage?
drainage ditch, yeah, but
Yeah,
that's what it
I
is.
went by there and there was a mattress that
Yeah.
was there. But when I went by there, one time the mattress was on top of the not the levee, but on top of the canal. And then when I went back again to verify so we can see if we're gonna need to put a sign there, it was inside the ditch.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
So,
no.
yeah.
Well, you got one there.
Yeah.
That's where you're gonna put one sign, huh?
We've got one there. We wanted to place cameras there, but it's kind of hard because it's an isolated area. So if we put a camera, we're afraid that it might get damaged or somebody might shoot the camera. And
Yeah, well, you know, because
it's
it's
a dark
isolated,
spot.
I don't think
Yes.
it's a deterrent, because there's a mattress right there next to the water treatment plant in Pharr.
yeah. And also that area is going to be under construction soon.
Yeah.
So there'll be more
More traffic?
traffic going through there.
Okay.
Is there amount of what the fine will be on there?
What, ma'am?
The amount
Of-
of
of-
the
Like
fine
for a fine?
on those,
I believe so. Yes.
'cause that would be a deterrent too. of
It's got
course.
it's, I think it has the price on there, I'm not sure, $500
Mhm.
fine, something to that effect.
Okay.
But if you all come across any kind of illegal dumping, please let us know, and we can place one of those signs up there, and maybe put a camera, see if we can catch somebody.
Okay. The cameras work in the sense that there's always footage? Is that what it is?
Yes,
or-
it's like, I'm not sure if you're aware of the game cams
Mhm,
that they
yes,
use for the
yes. So
hunting.
when there's movement, it takes,
There's movement and, yeah, it's
Okay.
like a motion sensor. And so we're trying to get, Mr. Nunez is trying to get us some additional cameras to help us out as far as any kind of illegal dumping, especially with the tires.
yes. I can see how that would benefit all.
So we have some cameras, but they're kind of outdated, so they do some things that we can't control. The cameras that we're trying to get now, they're, you can do during the night, make sure that the area is patrolled.
And I have a last question. The drainage ditch or canal that is just south of the sports complex,
Mm-hmm.
that belongs to the county?
Yes, but we have an agreement with them, and what we do is we'll do the cutting of the grass as
Okay.
far as the slopes.
So I know that there's a perimeter fencing where the north part is the sports complex.
Mhm.
And then south is the frontage to the drainage ditch, or the alley, or the right-of-way.
Yes, ma'am.
Who cleans that?
That,
Or who would that belong to?
again, it belongs to Hidalgo County, but
Okay.
we do the maintenance as far as the cutting of the grass.
Okay, all right.
But I think that's the area where they're doing the hike and bike.
I haven't, I don't know if they've started yet, but there looks like
If
there's
it's right there at
some
the sports
construction.
complex,
It's right to the south of
yes,
it?
that's part of the hike and bike,
That's what I thought.
yeah.
Because they've gone under cage already, right?
Yeah, but-
Not yet.
Not
Not
quite.
yet.
They had to do a relocation of I think it was a water line that
Mhm.
was going
That's what they
across
were
the
doing.
ditch. So they were doing that adjustment
Mhm.
before they did any other kind of work.
I was just wondering, because when we had OCS last month,
Mhm.
we were cleaning inside the perimeter where the sports complex was, but on the other side, it was like, oh gosh, I want to get that. You know, it's nature. I mean, it's human nature. You've got the baseball fields and stuff blows, and
Yeah.
you also get the prevailing winds that blow up against that fence and bring the litter, you know, so you're just like, oh, I just wanted, I wanted to clean everything. Okay, sir, we'll move on to administrative, which is number 2. Go down to D. Number 2, the DRC signage. Any word on how we're doing with funding and/or putting signage on the, basically on the street, saying this is the DRC? I know we've got it on the wall, on the wall of the building.
Yes.
But we were wondering if there was going to be an announcement. I know a monument, we were looking at a monument. Have you heard any word on that? Or
I
how?
haven't received anything. I just know that it's still in the process of getting financed.
Okay, that's,
They do have a design, they just don't have the monies for it.
okay. At least we know it's in the works. Okay. And then, I know that, last but not least, I believe this is where Mr. Garza's name came up, with TxDOT. He told us that if we provided.
Mr. De La Fuente.
De La Fuente, sorry. If we provided, him with possibly, an idea,
Yes,
So they could
I
approve?
spoke to engineering.
Mhm.
Engineering is going to design something for us. And then once that's designed, then we'll present it to you all to see if you all agree. If we need to make any changes, we can go take it back to engineering and they can do the adjustments. Once it's approved by the committee, we can then give that to TxDOT. And TxDOT will give us the okay. Then from there, we need to find a contractor to see, or actually, we're gonna need the finances to see who we're gonna be able to hire and go out for bids.
and I think the committee had discussed the idea of possibly making it uniform to, how the
Match.
north entrance
Mhm.
was, something similar. That way there'd be some, it'd be,
No,
oh yeah,
I-
we're in Pharr.
I mentioned to him just to make it something simple.
Mhm.
And then from there, we can either expand it or do what we need to do.
Does anybody have any questions for him?
No.
Okay, all right. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move on to administrative, item, E on page 2, goals for the downtown walking tour surveys. Mr. Palomo will not be here today due to a conflict, but he will be here next month. And so, but today, if everyone has their walking tour, comments and responses in front of them, and they're broken down into, categories. And I was just wondering, if you all have any more comments to add to these, and if there's some category that sticks out most importantly than the rest. Because just like we did South Pharr, the goal was to select three areas of concern, and then hopefully with Public Works and the city, we make change, you know, we were able to move things forward with, you know, clarifying and making things better for downtown. But it's, obviously, we can't tackle every
Yes.
single thing. So just like we did South Pharr, let's shoot for three, the three that really stand out, put them in order of importance, and then we tackle those. And like I said, with the help of Public Works and the city, and let's get this done and knock on doors and make phone calls to get answers to questions that I know that we probably all have on a lot of things. So does anybody want to take the floor and maybe add comments, or which stands out the most to you?
I think cleanliness needs to be first.
Okay. Cleanliness is important. Anybody else have any comments? So just for the public that might be viewing this later, the categories are landmarks, cleanliness, landscapes, infrastructure, the businesses, and traffic. And then there was room in the survey for positive and negative comments. And then, and so we took all the comments and all the recommendations, and we compiled them into just a long list into the different categories. So anybody have any other comments or concerns, or like, what do you think stands out to you?
Well, along with cleanliness has been very important. I think having a pleasant landscape,
Okay.
it's something that'll be visually pleasing to visitors and to the residents of
Okay.
Pharr. I think something like that, if we could work with that also,
Okay.
that would enhance the beauty of the city also.
I think those two things are probably, those two items are probably something we can impact in the very near future.
Mhm.
So, because when you start to look at the other items, landmarks, infrastructure, business, and traffic, it's going to be something bigger than this committee, and it's going to require more input from different departments, different area, different agencies. So I think if we concentrate on cleanliness and landscape, we could have a quick impact on those two things. So I would suggest that we start looking at those and strategically look at what we're considering downtown and figure out how we can, first of all, identify the areas where a trash can might be put up, or identify areas that could be landscaped to, again, add some aesthetics to downtown.
Mr. Santana, do you have anything else to add?
That's good. What he
Okay.
said, because the other ones takes a lot of money, a lot of input from every department,
Mhm.
plus the business owner. You don't want to spend a lot of money in the infrastructure. It's gonna cost them $100,000.
Yeah, and that's not to say that we're not gonna look at these, but it's gonna be something that's gonna require
More
a lot
time.
more work
Mhm.
and time.
More time, and it's not something that's gonna be done in a year.
No.
Right.
So, and then if we create an aesthetically pleasing 4-block area or 2-block area, perhaps that's gonna make a difference on someone deciding, maybe I will rent that empty building or that empty office, because it looks like they're doing something to the area to lift it up. And maybe an owner of a building will say, my building's looking pretty bad now that they're doing all this to downtown. Maybe it'll be a domino effect too.
Yeah.
So, okay, well then, what if we just worked on those two instead of picking 3?
I think that's a good idea.
Is that great?
I agree.
All right.
Mhm.
Do we need to take a vote, or we're just in agreement? I mean, we're not really taking,
But I think we're all in agreement
Yeah.
on that.
okay, so we're gonna tackle cleanliness and landscapes and aesthetics that within our control, that are within our control.
Right.
All right. What I'll do is just read out loud some of the comments that, again, under cleanliness, concerns were trash cans or lack of them. One side looked cleaner than the other side of the street. Some areas look like they're well kept, others don't look like they're well kept. You know, if someone decided to walk along the sidewalk, you know, is it safe, is it not? As far as the pavement, the curb, I know there's construction, so right now it's not perfect, but we hope that it will be all nicely done by the end. Under landscaping, there were a lot of areas that had minimal landscaping. Of course, another person said we need more green areas. There's lack of accent foliage and more trees were needed. These were comments that were added to the survey. Need more beautiful, colorful plantings that are native, adaptive, drought tolerant, pest and disease resistant, no thorns, and attract beneficial insects and birds. And so those are the types of things that we're going to focus on. Okay. Anybody have any more comments or concerns on this? We're good? Okay. Mr. Paloma will come next time, at our next meeting in November, and he will bring to us just a small, quick presentation on what they offer in his department to new businesses seeking to come into the area. And also, he's the Main Street Manager, which is a program that pinpoints downtown, and he can share with us how possibly we as a committee can relive or rejuvenate this Main Street project. Okay. So if there's no further questions on item 2E, I will move on to item 2F, which is the status report from Public Works. Mr. Cano, do you have anything else to add?
On this previous one, the E1, to have the Mr. Palomo, there are funds out there that are from PEDC for these vendors that are out there or store owners, that they can get these funds to, I guess, do like a little uplift of their businesses, whether it be infrastructure or the outside cosmetics. So that hopefully he will be here to give us a little bit of information on that. On another note was, you had mentioned the landscape and I guess to keep it clean and also to try and get some more trees, plants introduced back to here into our downtown city. We'll need to get Parks and Rec
Yes.
involved in this. Parks and Recs are the one that they maintain the buildings as far as cutting the grass or any kind of landscape. So we would need to include them, so that way they can maybe designate certain areas here downtown, maybe put some big giant pot plants with some kind of, pretty plants on there, or tree, something. Again, they're the ones that do the landscaping for the parks, and they do the landscaping for all the city buildings. So we'll need to include them on that.
They would be beneficial, perhaps if Mr. Alanis or his assistant Isaac, we can ask them to come back, and not just talk about the mural, but possibly
Yes.
just, again, reiterate those areas
Now,
that are
again,
possible.
it all depends on how much funding we have, so we can put these, things in place. Right now, it seems like we're taking little baby steps, but eventually, we're gonna be running with it once we get all these little details out of the way.
Mhm.
Another note, I guess, for the status, we have OCS is coming up on the 26th, and it'll be at Jones Box. Again, it'll be from 8 to 12. Be great if you can join us, if you have time. Bring any kind of trash that y'all have. We'll be more than happy to accept it. There was recently STAR conference.
Oh, yeah.
But we were unable to attend, but Ms. Cynthia Puentes was able to attend. So maybe she can give us a little bit of an
Okay.
update on what she learned from that one.
Could you, just for the sake of the committee and those, the citizens watching, STAR is an acronym for,
State of Texas Alliance of Recycling.
thank you.
I just know it by STAR.
Okay.
I have one,
Yes, yes,
and I hope I'm not out of the ballpark here. You mentioned earlier about the Parks and Department being in charge of landscaping and the cutting grass and everything. Just for our knowledge, what type of training do the groundskeepers have as far as pruning trees and shrubs and stuff? I'm not being critical or anything.
Yes.
It's just that, you know, because I remember in the past, I had been involved in workshops, shall we say, for the Texas AgriLife would sponsor workshops where they would bring in city employees and county employees so that they would know how to properly, because unfortunately, many times enough, you go and you see a tree that has been slaughtered. Not intentionally, that just because of lack of, you know, overprune or something like that. I'm not just going, question, do our employees receive?
I'm not sure. I
Okay.
don't have an answer. I don't know
Okay.
how much
That one,
extensive
no,
training they
like I
have
said,
as
I
far
didn't
as
mean to
the.
impose on you, I just wanted to,
Another question for Mr. Alanis.
okay, for Mr.
Yes.
Landis, okay, thank you.
Anything else for Mr. Cano?
I
I know that,
believe Crystal has
yes,
something
yes, yes,
to add to the status.
yes, thank you, Chris, thank you, sir, thank you, Ms. Crystal.
Okay, so to elaborate a little bit more on the next OCS, we did apply for the fall sweep for Keep Texas Beautiful, which is basically just where they give us supplies for the next cleanup. It's from a certain time of the months to a certain time, and we kind of just fell into it. So I did apply for it like last month, and I just received the supplies today. So we got extra gloves, extra recycle bags, and extra trash bags given to the city, so you know everybody can go ahead and use those. So that's another checklist that we can do once we apply for the GCAA award. So that's another plus for us. Confirmed right now, we do have 15 from a church group. That new church that they're building there on Nolana. I want to say
Oh,
it's the DHC church. Is it that?
Nolana and Sugar almost?
Yes.
Or no longer?
DTC,
That one. DTC, yes.
DTC.
Well, at church,
Christ.
they've confirmed.
Awesome.
At first, I think they had said 50 people, but I told them that's too many people for us. So maybe, let's do half of that. So I'm waiting for confirmation on her still. But also, we do still have the Girl Scouts who came out with us the last time also. It is going to be at Jones Box Park. So that is the area that they're from. So we will be seeing those girls again. Apart from that, we have partnered up with Parks and Rec. They contacted me like last week in regards to joining them in their efforts to celebrate Arbor Day. I know Mrs. Caballero had mentioned before, Texas does have its own Arbor Day. It is the first Friday of the month in November. So we will be celebrating it on November 2nd. I gave you guys a flyer so you can kind of check that out. I know that they're not shooting for a huge event like we did when we had our Earth Day event, but they will be doing this event at Jones Box Park. It will be more or less the same as what we did for Earth Day. There will be a lot of flower planting, and they will do tree planting. But for preventative measures, since we learned last time, we will be, I spoke to them of things that, what we need to do to make sure that this stays in place. So we will be contacting PD just to make sure we get that tower out there, and we'll have extra patrol just to make sure that things stay where they are. We will be choosing native plants again. I know that they wanted to focus on planting around the signage as soon as you drive in, where it says Jones Box Park. They want to, beautify that area as much as possible. I did mention to them if they want to do trees, which they do, we need to get larger scale trees. That way, they stay put and they do not get removed anymore. So that is something that we will be working closely with them. So as of right now, the same girls from the Girl Scout troop who will be joining us on October 26th will also be at the Arbor Day event. So that's just part of the group. There's also a group from T-STEM that wants to join us as well. So I just need confirmation from them. So you guys are more than welcome to join us. It was with Miss Sarah Guerra and Isaac Escovedo who I spoke to. So they're excited about the whole thing, and I'm glad that they reached out just so we can make sure that everything goes smoothly and there's no problems encountered a few days after. So that's a plus. It will be there. They said that it's going to be from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. They said that's not set in stone. If it goes a little bit further,
Certainly.
that is fine. They just didn't want to say, let's do it till noon, but then they're finished by 11. So the time is still tentative. They will be having free refreshments and a moon jump for the kids. So hopefully everybody within that neighborhood will also join us on that day. And then we can still continue to educate them about beautifying, the city of Pharr. So, yes.
Okay.
That is anything. Do you guys have any questions?
I just want the committee to know that these pictures were taken at our
Yes, they were.
Earth Day event that we did at Jones Box. These are the plantings and the young ladies and gentlemen that helped us out at that planting at Jones Box. And it was a fun day. It was a good day. It was a good day.
And they did reach out to Santa Ana Wildlife Refuge. As of right now, they might be busy on that day. So in case they are, just like we did last time with the little cards that say all of the benefits of planting native plants in our area, I'll just pass them out again, and then I'll just be the quote unquote speaker for the kids. I'm not an expert, but I know a little bit about the plants. So
We were lucky that day, right? That we had
Oh,
a
yes.
biologist. We had
her name was Heidi.
Heidi from Santa Ana was there in
Yes.
her outfit. And she was just so enthusiastic and
Yes.
working with the children, and it was just really a neat day. It was a really neat day.
Yes. So hopefully they'll be able to join us on that day.
Good.
I was going to ask you, oh my gosh. Okay. Before I forget, could you share with Cynthia Puente to also, for our next meeting, to share with us on the Star Alliance conference? So that way, this is how we learn, right?
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
So
I
just
will.
a little synopsis on the conference, so that way, I mean, we learn
Right.
about what transpired or what it was about. And
Okay.
that would be good. And does anybody have any questions for Ms. Crystal?
Nope.
Texas Recycles Day. We're gonna do it jointly with Arbor Day?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no.
No.
Sorry.
Okay.
So, Texas has it's called America's Recycle Day. It's in a collaboration, I guess, with Texas, but we call it America's Recycle Day. It is November 15th. So what the city has done, what Environmental Services has done for the past few years, we open a contest for the Pharr schools for newspaper recycling, and how it is determined is by weight. It is by class. So each classroom will bring us, bags full of newspaper. We weigh it at our shop, and then we tally up the weights for the whole month of November. At the end of the month of November, whoever is in first place, they get a plaque, they get goodie bags, and they get a pizza party for the class. And then it goes into, second and third place. So we do advertise that for all of our schools. I send an email out to one of the main PSJ ISD. Her name is Mrs. Burden. I'm not sure what her title is. But from there, she's actually the one who sends it out to all the principals in Pharr. So then that way, all of the teachers in Pharr know that this contest is for the kids. All they got to do is participate, and then at the end of it all, they get a little, a party if they win first place. So that's another thing that we are doing.
Again, that's an awesome program, an awesome project to add
is.
to our.
It is a check
you know,
mark on
it's-
that
it's
application.
Huge. It's hitting a lot of
Yes.
checks on the.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
reminding me.
And everything that not only Public Works does, Parks and Rec does. So this is a learning curve, a big learning curve for all of us. Everything needs to be remembered to be added into that application because we're doing something. We're in some way, shape, or form, we're covering that. We're covering a check or two or three or four. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that. So has anybody ever heard of America's Recycle Day?
No.
I had until I was driving on South 10th and
I know you
the
were gonna
city
say
of
that.
McAllen has
A banner.
has a big banner. It's Keep McAllen Beautiful has a big banner on South.
So
10th.
maybe next year that can be a goal for us. We could
Have a
actually
big
have
banner.
one day where it's, maybe half a day where we celebrate it and we kind of give back, because they do a really, really large scale event for that day.
So maybe next year we can program our OCS to coincide with more closer to the date. So that way we utilize, Texas Recycles Day, America Recycles Day, that's what we're doing.
I think we can do something, because right now projected November 15th is the actual day, but our OCS for November is November 16th.
Oh, hello.
So that's actually something that we can
Yes.
incorporate.
And what I was reading on some cities are modifying the date they do something
Mhm.
based on what helps for their city, not necessarily on the day.
On the
So,
actual
okay.
day.
Yeah.
Well, let's
That's
put our
something
heads
I'll work
together with
on.
OCS for November and see
What we can
how
do.
we can enhance that
Okay.
to really, okay, very good.
Make it a bigger event. Okay, we'll work on that.
Okay. Do you know where that's gonna be in November?
November,
Okay, well, we'll know.
I'm not sure. I just know the dates.
We'll know. All right. Let's see quickly. Does someone have a calendar? Our next meeting is Tuesday, November 19th. I'm sorry. Our next meeting is Tuesday, November 19th. So we'll have our next meeting after the proposed OCS for November. So does anybody have, I guess, we'll send an email on a reminder for the November OCS location.
Okay, yeah, we'll all be in contact
Okay.
before then.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Crystal Medina.
Nice.
Anybody have any more questions for her? We're good? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gano. Also, does anybody have any comments to add or any announcements to add? So, I'm on item administrative 2. I'm down at item G, comments and announcements. Let me announce that our next meeting is Tuesday, November 19th, in this boardroom at 5:30. I will also remind you that our Operation Clean Sweep is, again, October 26th, the last Saturday of the month, Jones Box Park, 8 to 12. Other dates to remember are upcoming November 2nd, Parks and Rec and Public Works are having their Arbor Day celebration on November 2nd at Jones Box Park, as per the flyer, Arbor Day celebration. Another thing to remember is America's Recycle Day. We're hoping to incorporate that to our OCS November 16th date. Location to be further announced. Any other dates that I might be missing? I think I got them all. All right. Before I end, again, I'm gonna just add a little bit about the importance of Census 2020. There will be 4 ways to respond to Census 2020. 1 will be through secure internet. 2 will be to respond by phone. 3 will be response by mail. And 4 will be an in-person interview. Just remember that every person that lives in the city is important and needs to be counted. everything is kept confidential. And being no more comments or questions, I'm going to end with this quote. Life starts all over again when it gets crisp in the fall. F. Scott Fitzgerald. I'm longing for cooler days. So, and at this time, I'd like to see if someone would like to motion for this meeting to be adjourned.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay. Mr. Robles has motion on the floor. Does anybody want to second it?
I second the motion.
Okay, Mr. Santana, since, is there anyone in disagreement of this, of this meeting being adjourned? I'm sure that everyone is in agreement, and so then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.